Hello, everyone. Welcome to UGA Sports Rumors versus Facts. I am Blayne Gilmer here live on a Monday night, once again talking Georgia football recruiting with Trent Smallwood and Jed May. And guys, you can see it's a special time of the year. Over my shoulder here, you see the WWE Championship, old Universal Championship. The road to WrestleMania is going on. The Masters is in a couple of weeks. Trent and Jed are nerding out over MLB The Show coming out tonight before the episode. So we have a lot to be excited about here. And we have a lot to be excited about with the interview we're about to have in just a second. But Trent, Jed, how's everything going?
It'll be going pretty good. About 3 hours when I got MLB The Show fired up. But no, it's going good. Recruiting's in full swing as our next visitor will surely be able to tell us.
Trent, how you doing, man?
Good. Just waiting to get Jed's gamer tag so he'll start catching them L's tonight.
Yeah, we'll have to hear that. But without further ado, let's bring on the newest Georgia Bulldog commit, class of 2024 offensive lineman, in-state prospect from Cartersville High School, none other than Malachi Toliver. Malachi, thank you for joining us this evening, man.
Yes, sir. No problem. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's listen. It has to be kind of a whirlwind type deal. You've had a lot of interest in your recruitment, stuff like that. Dogs get really heavily involved in January. Offer comes right there at the end of January. And then it didn't take long, man, a couple more visits, and this thing was wrapped up. So just kind of you and I talked yesterday. We had a piece on the website, but just kind of for those who didn't see that and aren't kind of familiar with how this thing played out, just take us behind the scenes a little bit about how this Georgia recruitment and your commitment to Georgia went down.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was there at Georgia. Actually, I started last summer. I went to a camp, and then I went to the Kent State game on a visit, and that's when I really started liking Georgia a lot. And they invited me to a junior day in January, and a little bit after that is when they offered me. I was like, I got a feeling. I was like, I think Georgia's the place. It's going to be the place. So I went back this past weekend, and I loved it even more than what I did before, and I told them I wanted to be in, and they were excited to have me. So I'm excited to be a Bulldog.
Absolutely. Jed, Trent, you got anything that comes to mind? I'm going to ask Malachi right off the start here.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering, being from Cartersville, did you grow up a big Georgia fan, or you watched on Saturdays? Are you not that big of a – because, I mean, some guys we talk to, they don't watch hardly any college football. I mean, what's it been like, following the Georgia program through your life?
Yeah, so I actually didn't grow up in Cartersville my whole life, or in Georgia,
Okay.
really. I actually grew up mostly in Louisville, Kentucky. That's actually my hometown. So, but definitely when we moved down here, Georgia was definitely a big team I was watching. Me and my dad, we always watched football. Any football is on, we always watching it. So definitely Georgia is one of the teams that we like watching. I mean, they're the best of the best. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously coming on strong late. You received that Georgia offer. What from a skill set standpoint, what do you kind of think your strengths and weaknesses are in your game right now?
Shoot, man. I know I definitely play with a lot of effort because I play with a passion. I love this game, and I don't let anybody get over me with that. But I definitely feel like my effort and passion always shows on my film. And I feel like that my footwork for the body that I have is pretty good. And I feel like that helps me a lot with my game. And that's a big reason why I'm going to Georgia to play football. And they feel like that they can up my skill set even more than what it already is. Because, there's always room for improvement. And they feel like that they can get me to the best possible O-lineman I can be. So.
You mentioned that body type, man. We have had that question since you've committed on our website. Yeah. What is his actual height or weight? Because different websites have different things. I'm assuming when you went to Georgia, they've done official measurements, stuff like that. What are the official measurements? Tell everybody what's the measurement? What are you weighing in at right now?
So so Saturday they actually pulled me aside and a couple other guys over there, and they got my height and weight. So my height is 6'6", and my weight was 310. So that's the official stuff right there.
There you go. There is the official breaking height and weight of Malachi Toliver here on UGA Sports. Everybody's asking. They've seen 6'3", some places 6'5", all that kind of stuff. And I tell people, that's just because this guy's gone to different camps and done different things over the years, and hey, he's growing. He's still growing, you know. So do you feel like you feel like you've maxed out? You think you may grow another inch or two, or you can add a little bit more weight, or what's your goals for that as you head towards your senior year and go into college?
No, I mean, I'm not sure about growing. I mean, doctor hasn't told me I'm shot, so I can add a few more inches or whatever. But with my body, I mean, same type thing. I'm not sure if it's going to get any bigger. I haven't been told that it's not. But weight-wise, if anything, trim down some, because, it's always good to trim down some of the unneeded fat or whatever, unneeded body weight. So if anything, trim down, but obviously not too much, and build it back up. So,
absolutely. Jed, Trent, what else you got for him?
Yeah, Stacy Searels is a guy. He's done this for a long time. I'm sure you've heard he's coached at Georgia before. Just what makes Coach Searels different than all the other offensive line coaches you've talked to? A guy that you want to play for the next 3 or 4 years.
Like you said, he's been doing it for a long time, and he has a lot of success in the way of producing guys that go to the league. And like you said before, he was there a little bit ago before, and it's funny because I was actually on a visit to a place, and I couldn't even leave the campus, and he called me, and we were talking, and one of the things he said, well, I left Georgia a little while back, and I would say that's one of the biggest mistakes that I've done in my coaching career. So that means a little bit more to me, him being at Georgia and now him wanting to be there. Obviously, I mean, they're an elite football team, and in my opinion, there's no better place to be, obviously. But I just love the way he coaches. He went over that with me more on Saturday, and I saw it in person, obviously, because I watched him practice. And I just think he's a great coach, and I think that's the best opportunity for me to grow as a lineman and a football player.
Now let me ask you this. You said Coach Searels said he felt it was a mistake leaving Georgia. Coach Kirby obviously went to Georgia. Coach McClendon went to Georgia. Coach Muschamp. From having been to a lot of places, do you feel like these coaches, have a different connection to the school they coach at maybe than some other places you've been to? It's such a rare thing to see so many coaches who have either played at, attended, whatever the school that they're now coaching at.
Yeah, no, I've been, like you said, I've been in places and I've seen some things, and I feel like that is an important factor when it comes to, the recruiting process. Because what I came to find out is you want to be somewhere where not only you want to be, but the coaches that you're going to be around every day want to be, and the players that you're going to be around every day want to be. And I feel like that is a big aspect of it, having connections to the school or whatever. And so, yeah, I definitely feel like that plays a big part in it. Just means a little bit more to the people that you're around every day.
Trent, go ahead, man.
Yeah, from talking about recruits and other targets that Georgia might have, and I know there's a commit text group y'all have. Have you entered that group and getting to know all the commits in the class, and what other targets you might be going after in this class?
Oh yeah. So they added me last night, and all the guys were like, "Congratulations, best decision you ever made," and all that good stuff. And I'm definitely going to be recruiting because Coach Mark said recently, the past 2 years, they haven't had a top O-line class like they normally do. The classes that Georgia have the past 2 years, and he told me personally he wants to be focusing on that and get 5 really good dudes and build this O-line class up back to what it used to be. And he said he wanted me to be one of them, and that was a big reason, or one of the reasons why I ended up doing what I did. And I'm definitely going to be out there recruiting, top linemen and any other players that, they have on the list. We're going to go get them.
I know you mentioned in our interview, you mentioned Big Daniel Calhoun specifically. So you guys are not too far away from each other over there. You got a good rapport with Daniel already? You guys know each other pretty well?
Oh, yeah. No, that's my guy right there. So we actually, I knew him before, but we actually started talking a lot more. We met at Velocity, and that's where we really started talking and hit off, and then met at a UA camp and on a visit. And, yeah, that's my guy right there. I was talking to him when I committed, and he was like, yeah, man, I've been liking him too. So I'm going to be recruiting him hard, and I'm definitely going to try to get him up over there. I know that's my guy right there, so.
Absolutely. What are maybe some, things, some goals that you have, whether it's with Cartersville or personally as you head into this final year of high school ball? Obviously, you got the recruitment piece out of the way now, and you can just focus on senior year. But what are some of those goals you may have?
Yeah, obviously just like focus on being a leader of the team. It's my last year, so bringing it all in. This is where it really matters, and this is the thing that you're gonna really miss when you grow older. So just taking it all in, still grinding because work never stops. You can always get better. So that's one thing I always try to do is, make sure to keep that mindset and just grow as a leader and lead this team. Make a deep playoff run and hopefully we win the state championship. That's our ultimate goal.
Absolutely. Y'all got Jed, Trent, you got anything else you want to ask here?
Yeah, this is something I'll ask guys in interviews. What's your favorite football memory? Is it a particular block? Is it, did you got a, running back memories from your younger days? I mean, what's your favorite football memory that you've had in your time playing?
Well, sadly, I never got a chance to run a ball. So.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, but no, I wouldn't say nothing particularly. There's a lot, so I wouldn't say I have one in particular that's my favorite. I have a lot, so.
We got a question here from one of our YouTube guys. He goes, when are you going to make a recruiting trip to see Dylan Raiola? So I don't know. I don't know if Malachi is going to be traveling the country over there, but Andy Stowe's wanting you to go after the number one quarterback recruit in the country.
Yeah, no, I was actually he hit me. I guess the coaches gave me his number or gave him my number. He hit me up, man. I was like, bro, we need you. We need to get the number one quarterback, really number one athlete in the class. To the number one team in the nation. So that's another guy I'm going to be out there recruiting. I've already been talking to him, texting him too. So
no doubt. I got a question in terms of lifting in the weight room, stuff like that. What's your best lift? I want to ask a specific one. What do you think you're best at? What kind of weight you throwing around?
Yeah, so today we actually we were maxing on bench, and I feel like that's my best one is bench. And I threw a 405 today, so that's my best one right there.
All right, so Malachi's going to be playing guard at Georgia. All right, everybody get used to that because he's about to be pushing around some three techniques with one arm. I mean, my goodness, man, 405. I mean, was that something you had kind of jumped up to, or have you kind of been at that for a while, or what's that been like?
It's been around there. Like my last max was 385. Yeah. So I kind of made a little jump. But yeah, so it's always like that kind of pace, and if it's not, one time you hit a flat line, sometimes you just gotta grind it out. So
405, wow. Well, we got time for a couple more here. Jed or Trent or anybody in the YouTube. If I see a YouTube chat, I'll throw it up there. But Jed or Trent, one of y'all go ahead. Trent, you got another one?
Yeah, I got one. A lot of offensive linemen these days you see as multi-sport athletes. Any other sports you playing or now or in the past?
Yeah, so I used to like last year was my first year actually doing track, and I used to throw a shot and disc. But this year I kind of laid off of that, and I used to play basketball. Like I played for the team right league and things like that. So I used to play, but this year I decided, try to keep my body a little bit more healthy, considering like recruiting process and all that, and just focus on football more and technique and strength and all that good stuff more for football.
Absolutely, Jed.
Yeah, I was going to ask you actually about another Georgia commit. Sakovi White is up at Cass, pretty near Cartersville. Do you know him much, Joe? I mean, he's another guy in this class who has kind of come on later in this thing, but he's another guy. Man, you watch his film, he's a guy that can, he's not the tallest guy in the world, but he can go up and get it.
Oh yeah, no, that's my guy right there. I know him. I talked to him before. We're not like really close, but I'm sure like now, especially, we're gonna get really close. I saw him. Well, the funny thing is he plays for Cass, and that's actually Cartersville's rival.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a little blood in there. But, one day, obviously, we're going to be on the same team and teammates, so it's going to be all cool. But, yeah, I'll definitely plan on growing my relationship with him more now, especially since, we're going to be on the same team. So,
anybody in particular trying to get up there and be your roommate?
Shoot. If I get my boy Daniel over there, that's probably going to be my number one right there. But, no one in particular. Y'all
both over 3 bills. Y'all be tearing bones up if y'all get in there to the restaurant. I mean, it'd be ridiculous if y'all are rooming together over there. But Malachi, we appreciate you so much coming on and just breaking down your commitment with us. We'd love to have you on again, maybe after your official visit. Go ahead and tell everybody when your official is going to be and kind of that deal for you.
Yeah, so my official visit is going to be the weekend of June 9th. And yeah, I don't know what other recruits are they going to have that are committed are going to have that weekend, but definitely building bonds with whoever's there. And yeah, good stuff. Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. As we mentioned, we'll put we'll tweet out, and we've tweeted out before Malachi's ad on Twitter and all that kind of stuff, so you can follow him if you're a Georgia fan and if you're watching this program. So, Malachi, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll look forward to talking to you again.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all. Go Dogs.
Absolutely. That was Malachi Toliver, the newest recruit, the newest commit for Georgia in the class of 2024. Guys, as we always do here, what are some things that kind of caught your ear there in that interview?
Yeah, one is Kirby Smart came out and told him, hey, listen, our past few offensive line classes haven't necessarily been what they had been, I guess, in the early years of the Smart tenure. We want to get back to that. And that tells you two things. One, Malachi Toliver is, especially to be the first guy in this class, he's a guy that Georgia really wanted. There's no, he's a 3-star. He's not a ranked a top 100 player in the country. And that starts with me as I'm the one responsible for the rankings. But he's a guy that Georgia really wanted in this class to build this thing. And I think, secondly, Kirby Smart knows, and we've talked about that on the show, the 24 offensive line class is a class where Georgia really needs to hit on these offensive linemen. And I think Kirby Smart is, not to anyone's surprise, but he's established that this is a class that's going to be huge. So Malachi mentioned that Kirby said he wanted 5 guys. He's got 1 down. And Malachi Toliver, and like you said, with Daniel Calhoun, Jonathan Daniels, Jordan Seaton. There's a ton of Jaquan McCroy, who's another, he's 360 pounds out of Alabama or Mississippi there. There's a lot of guys out there still, and it's Kirby Smart knows the importance of this class for sure.
Salute, Trent.
Yeah, not only how strong he is, putting up 405 is pretty crazy number. But the fact that, Kirby kind of sent Dylan Raio's number to him and said, talk to him, I thought that was pretty interesting. They're taking, we didn't think any different, but they're putting the full court press on Dylan Raio with every member of the class, and then even targets, silence commits or something like that. They're going all after him.
Yeah, first of all, what you mentioned there, 405. It's not like, okay, when you're 6'6", all right, that's a long way for the bar to travel, okay? So it's a lot harder. We used to have a guy that was like 5'2" that set the bench record at my high school, where like you got to move it 2 inches. That's not, his arms are so short, but Malachi is over here with long arms, and he's having to move that bar a long way. So that's some strength right there. That's why I said maybe guard for him, because he already told me, yesterday that Stacy Searels was telling him, hey, you've got the girth to play guard. And obviously I had no idea about that strength, Trent, but when you're evaluating the guard position, a guy that's north of 300 pounds that can have that kind of initial punch just with his upper body, let alone who knows how much he, squats and power cleans. That's a pretty impressive prospect, and maybe one that's a little underrated. Jed, you need to get on that.
Yeah, it's already in the comments down here. I got to have him down up to a 4-star by the morning. So, again, I'm the one that's responsible for that. But I thought someone on the board, I guess it was yesterday, was mentioning that offers and stars and stuff, or stars for offensive linemen don't necessarily mean as much. Look at their offers, and you look at a guy like Malachi Toliver, offered by Arkansas and Sam Pittman, offered by Miami with Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal down there. So. And obviously Stacy Searels, like you said, is a guy that's done it for a long time too. So some of the best offensive line coaches and minds out there wanted Malachi Toliver, and that should tell you about what his abilities, even if people like myself don't have him super high in the rankings. And obviously Georgia's the one that wins out for him, and is has got him as the building block to that offensive line class moving forward.
I just thought of something that we can get trending, and I'm going to put it on the vault tomorrow for everybody who's on Twitter. It's going to be hashtag blame Jed. Okay. Hashtag blame Jed is going to be trending before too long. We're going to get it going here. But Trent, like I was saying, that kind of upper body strength, it could lend itself to him being a guard for Georgia at the next level.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, looking at his film, he has a pretty good bend. He's athletic enough to get out and pull. So yeah, you can definitely see Garden definitely with that strength that he just said 405 on the max today is very impressive. And and you talked about recruit the 5-star or 4-star or 3-star offensive lineman. It's all about the upside, and it's hard to project offensive linemen because every offensive lineman coming in, besides maybe a one a class, are projects, and it's how they develop, and it's how high their ceiling is, and it's why you see a lot of guys, even for Georgia, like Andrew Thomas wasn't a 5-star at Rivals, and he ends up being a first-round pick, and you see, there has been a couple 5-stars, but then you see guys like Xavier Truss and those kind of guys that are contributing heavily, that have really developed on the field as their careers have gone. So you really look for that more high ceiling, than more so than you don't see many guys that are just day one ready at the offensive line position.
Yeah, which interesting note, Jed. You shared a tweet. You said Connor Liu, someone that Georgia did recruit in this last class. Hugh Freeze is talking about him playing as a freshman, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know that, that sounds great for Auburn right now, because Kirby Smart has been one to say, Trent, like you said, nothing against Connor Liu, but just saying anytime you're having to start true freshmen in the SEC at offensive line, that's not ideal.
Yeah, and Kirby's that with Pittman and now with Friend and now Stacy Searels, they've built depth at the position where they have upperclassmen and guys like this past class or this past year, they didn't have to start a couple of the young offensive linemen. Now you see Ernest Green getting reps at tackle, maybe his sophomore year or his redshirt freshman year, whatever might be. Over the year that he comes in and starts, but starting as a true freshman is tough, especially at the offensive line position. I think offensive line position is probably the hardest out of all the positions to start as a true freshman, especially in the SEC.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and Darren Frank says Van Pran started. Van Pran's also totally different. Okay, there's not, but I don't think he started year one, did he?
He started as a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, redshirt freshman. He didn't start as a true freshman, but also too, that's a guy that I think is going to play in the NFL for a long, long time. So I think that's a little bit different story there.
I think Thunder Thighs Trey Hill started at when he was a true freshman.
But that was also very early on in the Kirby era too. So things have changed a little bit there. All right, so guys, we're going to be getting to vault questions here in just a minute, but kind of before we do that, let's hit some news and notes maybe from this past weekend, guys that visited. Jed, who are some guys that visited this past weekend that you've either heard things on or gotten to talk to?
Yeah, I think the headliner is probably David Sanders, a guy we've written about recently, number 2 guy now in the 2025 class. And Trent, you saw him along with Malachi Toliver at that Under Armour camp in Atlanta, and dude's just a freak. Don't know what else to say about him. Jordan Ross, a 24 edge guy, was in town, and I asked him. I talked to him. I said, "What's your favorite part of the visit?" And he said it was when Kirby yelled at guys in practice for messing up. He lets him know that he holds guys accountable and everything. So that's usually guys say at the facilities or the photo shoot or, sitting in on meetings or whatever. I never heard that answer before. I thought that was interesting. Ellis Robinson was in town, 2024 commit. A little bit of a slower weekend on the visit front. I'm interested to see who all shows up this coming up weekend with scrimmages starting. And it's obviously not a game day, but it's also a little bit more amped up than a practice. So, a little bit slower weekend last weekend. We've got Walt Clear Flynn from Grayson coming into town tomorrow. And obviously Malachi Toliver, as you mentioned, was in town over the weekend and committed while he was in town as well.
Yeah, definitely the big news there came out of that. As far as a recent offer that Georgia has extended, he didn't visit this weekend, but Nate Frazier is a running back out of Mater Dei High School out in California. And Trent is the guy that's a 10-7 in the 100-meter. He's really very similar to Christian Clark. All of his offers have really come this year, not just from Georgia, but from all the other schools that are pursuing him, Alabama, Tennessee, everybody else has kind of jumped on since late January or up through, this past week. So he said there's really no advantage of who's gotten in earliest and all that kind of stuff. He's still just being bombarded with offers and trying to sort through. But it's kind of interesting to see two running backs in Christian Clark and Nate Frazier now kind of capture all this attention late.
Yeah, I mean, majority of these running backs, I mean, you think of guys like James Cook and those type of guys who were recruited since they were in 8th grade because they had been seen for that long. And, you talk about a guy coming from Mater Dei out in California, that is a school that puts a lot of D1 prospects in the league. So you could see how a guy like a running back could kind of fly under the radar because, guys like that at Buford or, where they have so much depth, those type of kids fly up under the radar and it might be late developers and you don't see them until their junior, senior year. And then they just blow up. And this is the case here, but yeah, Georgia's always looking for speed, with speed and at the running back position, the wide receiver position, all the skill positions, they're looking for speed. And that's, one aspect that's really not necessarily changed, but before they looked for speed for track guys, and I think they're looking for speed for pure football players and football speed now, and these guys definitely have that.
No doubt. I think that Christian Clark too is a guy that people say what they want. I think I know there's been some controversy around Georgia and stuff lately with some behavior stuff and things like that. But I think realistically and honestly, there has been quite the emphasis put in the last few classes on trying to find character guys that are, you're not going to have to worry about off the field and things like that. And I definitely think both Nate Frazier and Christian Clark meet that aspect of it. They check those boxes there. So, definitely something to factor into the equation as well. All right, so without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get to the vault post. Before I do that, I need to mention they've been on the screen the entire time, but we are, presented by Auto Owners Insurance in cooperation with Turner Wood and Smith Insurance. Both have been around for over 100 years. Life, home, car, business, whatever your needs may be, Turner Wood and Smith is going to provide you with tremendous customer service, and they're going to recommend the policies that work best for you and your family. I know from experience, my family, that has business with auto owners, and Turner Wood and Smith for sure has helped us out for a long time as well. So make sure you can check out their URLs in the description below. And I need to change the crawler going at the bottom of the screen. There you go. It's presented by Turner Wood and Smith in cooperation with auto owners. So check those guys out today. All right, let's go ahead and hit the first one. None other than fellow WWE super fan Andy Stowe in here with us to start off with, Jed.
Yeah, I mentioned 3 running backs in your article this morning as a potential second back in 2024. Referring to you, Blayne, who do you think the coaches prefer? And then it's WrestleMania week. Who wins, Cody or Roman, Cena or Theory? So, Blayne, I don't know where we're going on the second one, so I'll let you take the reins.
I mean, how can you go with anybody but Cody Rhodes? Got to go with Cody Rhodes. Got to end the Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns went to Georgia Tech, right? That's reason enough. He's got to lose. So there you go. So Cody Rhodes, I think he'll go over Cena. He's not a full timer, so they're going to go with Austin Theory. All right. So the backs, I mentioned Nate Frazier, who Georgia has just offered. I mentioned Chauncey Bowens at Florida that they're trying to flip Georgia is, and then also Christian Clark. Listen, Jarrett Gibson is out there, but I think he's probably headed to Texas. Okay, I just don't see Georgia. He's going to get an official visit, and Georgia has an opportunity to knock it out of the park. But I think Texas is going to be pretty aggressive NIL wise there and things like that. And I just don't know that it's going to pan out for Georgia in that end. It's as far as preference, I think any of those three, especially Clark and Bowens, right off the bat here, Trent, I think would be welcomed with open arms by Georgia.
Yeah, and I think that would be a guy to pair up with what they have already in the class, and it would offset him really well. So I would say Clark and Bowens are probably 1 and 2. I'm not sure how the pecking order goes as far as the coaching staff's pecking order, but I think from a realistic standpoint, and who could eventually end up the class, I think those are guys that are 1 and 2.
And I mean, it's Cameron Davis too, like you said, Blayne. I mean, you mentioned Jared Gibson, but like it kind of feels like if he hasn't flipped from Florida State by now, like is he ever? He'll be back on campus in Athens at some point. Georgia, when we talked to him at Under Armour, he seemed like Georgia had a pretty decent shot at getting an official visit, but with what Florida State's done to keep him in the class, and obviously the success they had last year, that's going to be tough. So, like, three guys. If you said pick, Bowens, Clark, or Frazier, and then you've got the field, I think it might come from one of those three guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. All right, let's go with the next one here, Jed, from Darth Janus.
Yeah, saw a prediction for Zion Reagans to UGA out on the interwebs. Have you guys heard anything about him? Love his speed. Thanks, Go Dogs.
Yeah, I would just say take into account the source of that prediction. Not always the most accurate. And then 2, you always got to be skeptical when it's somebody from a flyover state that is projecting for somebody that's from the state of Georgia that's not even really being recruited by the same schools. So I have no idea where that came from. But Trent, I don't know that I think Zion Reagans is a guy that obviously is tremendously talented. I think Georgia might be starting to look for a little bit different body type here at wide receiver. I'm not ruling it out, but I'm just thinking there might be a little bit of change in how this wide receiver room is constructed going forward.
Yeah, and the past couple of classes, they've got a lot of those slot type speedy receivers, and even in this class, and I think you have to look at with all the outside guys that they've had on campus, the 5-star guys, and even some highly rated 4-star guys that Georgia's had on campus here lately, the Jeremiah Smiths and those type of guys. That's who they're really focused on as far as trying to fill the numbers in this class. Because it's more of a scheme fit in what they're trying to do. You got Ladd McConkey out playing wide a lot, and I think they want to get some bigger guys, some bigger bodies out there that can win one-on-one battles, and I think they have a lot of those slot speedy guys in the past couple of classes.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, Reagans, like you said, Blayne, he's tremendously talented. I think his biggest calling card has been his speed, track star at Jones County, but he's awful small. And listen, like every time someone says a guy is too small, then that's when they go on to have a Tyreek Hill type career or whatever and be an NFL Hall of Famer. But I mean, like you said, Trent, when you look at the guy, I mean, Yazeed Haynes is a little more slightly built, not small, I wouldn't say, but what's more slightly built. Anthony Evans, more of a slot guy, I would say. So you look at the guys that Georgia's looking at, whether it's Mike Matthews, Jeremiah Smith, even Aaron Butler is probably more of an outside guy. And so those are kind of the guys. And Sokovie White is already more of a slot guy, I would say. Amari Jefferson, who Georgia's after, could be used inside or outside. So he's a tremendously talented player, like you said, Blayne, but I think Georgia is looking at some other guys maybe more heavily than Zion Reagans right now.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to go Georgia or the field, I would just say the field right now. Right. Not saying that Georgia's out of it, not saying that Georgia's not still communicating or in touch with or or pursuing. I think all that is still going on. But, there's just at the end of the day, you can only take probably 4 in this class. And I don't know, there's some very interesting names out there and some developments that could occur that would entice those names going forward.
And one other thing is going back to Malachi Toliver's talking to him earlier was the fact that he said Kirby said he wants to get the best 5 offensive linemen in this class. That pretty much told you that where Georgia's head at is in this class as far as number wise is at 5.
Yep, appreciate it, Malachi. Thank you, man. Always great. That's like when Raiola came on here and told us on January 30th. Yeah. When Monken leaves, Bubba's going to be the next offensive coordinator. He just told us, like, thank you. Appreciate it. We broke the news. Little scoop. Grazie right there. I appreciate that. All right. Mini Mo comes on here and says, any further insight into Williams Wannery recruitment, timeline on visits, decision, how he feels about UGA? I think he may have the highest ceiling of anyone in the class. Jed, any update on Wannery? I know he was in town recently. And, for a while, it's kind of been viewed that Oklahoma kind of the team to beat for him, but is Georgia starting to, gain any ground there?
Yeah, and he was at Nebraska this past weekend as well. So, Georgia's right in there. I think if he put out a top 5, a list of official visits tomorrow, Georgia would probably be on it. But I think they're probably, like you said, they're probably looking at some other schools. When you look at that edge room, there's still a lot of there's a lot of not work to be done, but there's a lot of names out there, whether it's Jordan Ross, like I mentioned, Dylan Stewart, Christopher Jackson from Tucker is a guy who's blown up. The list goes on. And Booker Pickett is a guy out of Florida that's really talented, kind of like a receiver. There's so many talented guys that are after some names kind of slip through the cracks. So there's a long way to go there. He'll be a name to watch through the summer, see if he does end up getting back for an official or anything. But kind of like you just mentioned with whoever we were just talking about, if you had to pick Georgia or the field, I'm probably picking the field with Williams right now.
Yeah, it's a deal where too, as successful as Uzo Duribe was in his first class, the guys that he brought on, right? Damon Wilson, Samuel Mpemba, Gabe Harris, just a stacked class. And then, of course, you got Michael Williams and Marvin Jones, who Georgia's planning on being there for another 2 years. Even Jalen Walker walks outside and plays edge rusher from time to time. At some point, Trent, you might become a victim of your own success and people using that to kind of negative recruit against you with saying, hey, go look at all those studs they just brought in at edge. You may have a little bit more opportunity to get on the field right away over here. So I would imagine some of that's going on in Wannery's recruitment.
Yeah, that's 100% happening because that's what happens every year. When Georgia has an elite class at a position, you're going to get negatively recruited the next year because they're just going to tell you, hey, look how long it's going to take you to get on the field. I think Georgia's done a good job of being able to counter that with the fact that they're putting these guys in the NFL in the first round. Guy like inside linebacker, you might have to wait your turn for a couple of years, but look what the end result is. So they've done a good job countering that negative recruiting, but you're still going to see it year in and year out when Georgia has an elite class at a position.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, interesting question here that many will find interesting from Jar 52, Jed.
Yeah, does your team, I guess we're a team, so congratulations, guys, think that Mike Matthews will be in this class, reading where he's pumping up Bama's class? If Georgia gets Raiola, we might sign guys over him.
Yeah, I don't see Mike Matthews coming to Georgia. I just don't. I'm always going to try to keep it direct and real with people, and I don't see him coming to Georgia. I think that there's some interest there, but I think the talk and communication with Alabama, USC, Tennessee, Clemson has just been a lot more lately. And listen, let's be honest, it's out of Parkview, and there's not been a ton of success from Georgia in that particular area of the state. So, guys, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. it seemed like Georgia has always kind of been in the same position in this recruitment, in that it's been around, it's been near the top, but Georgia's never really been considered the front runner in this thing. Whether it was last summer, where it kind of felt like Notre Dame had the edge because they got in early on Mike Matthews when his recruitment blew up, and now, like you said, Blayne, it's USC, it's Tennessee, it's Clemson has built some momentum there. So, like you said, it's not impossible. Georgia, I think, should get an official visit. Looks like they will, but it's going to be tough with the ground that Tennessee and some other schools have. They've kind of leapfrogged Georgia in this thing. So. They've got the work cut out of him, and he was in town on Thursday, and it's never a bad thing to have a 5-star on campus, right? But I think the staff's going to have their work cut out to pull Mike Matthews out of Parkview.
Trent, I also don't think that people can. I mean, we do have to take into account if Georgia is able to get Dylan Raiola committed and sign Dylan Raiola, then. That may weigh into somebody like Mike Matthews' decision making, but it just certainly sounds right now that he's thinking a lot about other places.
Yeah, and we have a prospect like this from the state of Georgia every single year that we kind of get that feeling about. There's not a lot of direct insight on that, just other than what we're feeling, what we're hearing just around, and I think. Him in particular, I just feel like he's, never prioritizing Georgia as a favorite. Never, if there's two places to visit, he's always visiting the other. And that just kind of, it smells like he's headed elsewhere in this recruitment. Things can obviously change. It's March 2023, and a long ways to go. But as of right now, I think I would bet the field against Georgia.
Our good friend Jim Donnan says, follow the visits. And I just don't know that those are going to end up playing out in Georgia's favor in that one. All right. So, but I do think to what you said, Jed, and what the Jar 52 said, there's also the factor that there's some really big fish out there at receiver that I think Georgia is trending north for in a hurry. So I think that you got to take that into consideration. So there's two sides to every coin on that one.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we talk about it every week. Like okay, say Georgia takes 4 receivers, you already got 2 really good ones in Nassar and Jacoby White. Yeah, so and okay, there's Ryan Wingo, 5-star guy. Georgia's getting an official. Jeremiah Smith looks like Georgia's getting an official that first weekend in June. Trying to pair him up with Raiola. And then you got guys like Aaron Butler is a really good player Georgia's in good shape for. Amari Jefferson, who I mentioned earlier. Josiah Brown, a kid out of New York that the Georgia staff is very high on. Like, there's so many guys all over the place. It's hard to imagine, whether Mike Matthews is in it or not, it's hard to imagine how, this isn't probably the best receivers class Georgia has signed under Kirby Smart, at least in several years. I mean, there's so many guys out there. All you need is a couple of them to finally jump on board, and this is one heck of a class coming in.
Well, unless you include Ra Thomas and Dominic Lovett as transfers in this class with the freshmen they brought in, because Trent, this one was pretty strong with what Brian McClendon already added. Right.
Yeah, and I think McClendon is going to continue to grow this room. Georgia's not known as a wide receiver school. They don't put the 1,000-yard receivers and all that stuff, but Georgia's become a passing team over the past couple of seasons, and I think you've seen that. I think recruits have seen that. They started to take notice, and especially seeing 2 of the top wide receiver transfers coming to Georgia with McConkey coming back and Bowers coming back. That just shows what kind of reputation behind the scenes that recruits and other teams are seeing. Georgia trending towards on the offense side of the ball.
You see, Harry Legg here says, really need a stellar OL class to keep the big machine coming down the tracks. Well, that's what Malachi Toliver in the interview told us, that Kirby Smart said that they need to raise the standard a little bit with the offensive line recruiting. So that's being communicated. So there you go. on that end. Now, here we got next question here is from KSDJ1869. Jed?
Yeah, David Sanders was in town this past weekend. Any update on how his visit went?
Jed, you got anything on the former number one prospect in 2025? Now you decided to drop him to number 2, so that's your decision. But anyways, what do you think, Jed?
Right. I mean, Elijah Griffin's up to number 1 now. How can I, as the Georgia analyst, not have the Georgia guy number 1? No information. I mean, it's not a shock that a top 2 guy in his class is tough to get in touch with. I tried to reach out to David's father the past couple of days. Haven't heard anything back, so we'll keep working there. But what I do know is, and Trent, when we talked to him at Under Armour, he's very high on Georgia. He's got a long-standing relationship with Stacy Searels, going back to his days as a rising high school freshman, I think he said. So, and he said, look, when Georgia, like everyone on the vault, remember guys like when Stacy Searels was hired, everyone's like, oh man, Georgia's offensive line recruiting's about to go in the tank. David Sanders, like, yeah, that boosted Georgia up in my eyes because I've had a relationship with Stacy Searels for a long time. So, obviously got to see Coach Searels practice or conduct a practice over the weekend, and I'm sure that was good for him. And Georgia's right there in it. I mean, they're probably top 3, top 5 for sure. And obviously, there's a long way to go for him, but Georgia's right there in it. I'd expect to see him back in the summer sometime, and we'll go from there. But yeah, like I mean, Trent, you saw him more up close than I did at Under Armour. He's 270, which it's weird that he's that dominant at that weight, but he's absolutely the number 1 offensive lineman in that class for sure.
Yeah, I've never seen a body type like he has at offensive lineman, because seriously, when he walks up, he doesn't fit in with offensive linemen. Like you look at him, and there's the whole crowd of offensive linemen. You know, there's 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", 320, 330, and this guy standing there like he's a tight end in the offensive line group, and you just kind of look at him, you're like, this guy can't be serious. Like he's not. And then he gets on the football field, and he's just like throwing people around. He's throwing 320-pound, guys around, and you definitely ain't going to beat him with quickness. And I was interested to see how he's going to stand when somebody tried to bull rush him, and he stood his ground, and he actually pancaked that guy too. So. He's definitely a special prospect, an elite prospect. His length and his athleticism is second to none at the position, and he's definitely fun to watch, and he's going to be a top 2 player in the country throughout this whole thing, in my opinion.
Couple YouTube questions here that I'm gonna hit real quick. John Adams says Dylan Raioula's biggest follower impact would be USC, UGA, USC, Nebraska if he chooses. I mean, anywhere he goes, he's going to have a big impact. But guess it will also be which schools would take those that he wanted. Imagine UGA is tougher to get in. Listen, I think the names you got to watch out for if Dylan Raioula ends up, committing to Georgia is Jeremiah Smith, receiver currently committed to Ohio State, and Ryan Wingo. Maybe also I mentioned, Cam Coleman, mentioned him in my vault note this morning in the war room, that he's got a Phoenix City. He's got a couple teammates already in the Georgia program, and former, Phoenix City players in Jackson Meeks, AJ Harris. So, there's ties there's connections. But I definitely think that receiving room could definitely get a big boost if that happens. Redo Fly says, what's going on with Dylan Stewart, Edric Houston? I think when it comes to both of those, Jed, you're just going to have to wait after and see how the official visits go. I think Georgia is assured to get an official visit from each one. They're both priorities. Trey Scott with Edric Houston, Uzo Duribe with Dylan Stewart, and I think it's just going to come down to how does that official visit go, and is Georgia able to close strong at the end?
Yeah, I mean, if you put a gun to my head and said, okay, you got to go out on a limb and say Georgia's going to land one of these guys, I'd probably pick Dylan Stewart over Edric Houston, just because I mean, with Edric, Georgia's battling Ohio State, and Ohio State just seems to be constantly doing enough to keep Georgia at arm's length. With Stewart, it's Georgia and South Carolina, and Shane Beamer's doing good things with that program. But I think also when push comes to shove, Chidera Uzo-Deribe is going to be able to point out, hey, you see Nolan Smith going in the first round this year. You see, Robert Beal being drafted this year. You see all the guys that we've sent to the NFL. That could be you. I mean, I would very much expect when Nolan Smith hears his name called by the Falcons or whoever else in that first round, Dylan Stewart's going to be getting a phone call from Kirby Smart and Chidera Uzo-Deribe from Kansas City saying, yeah, dude, this could be you. So I think Georgia, like I said, Georgia's right in it with those two guys. I would probably give them a little bit of a better shot with Stewart than Houston has it right now.
All right, just John 419 says, it seems like the 24 class is all about offense, but who are some really talented defensive guys we should be watching to join the class outside of the obvious KJ Boldens? Well, Trent, we already mentioned a couple of them there that Georgia's heavily after: Edric Houston, Dylan Stewart, and he said outside of KJ Bolden. Of course, Sammy Brown, but I mean, any other guys that come to mind in terms of on the defensive side, target wise?
You got Justin Scott, the 5-star defensive tackle from Chicago, is going to be taking his official visit in the summer. Justin Green, yeah, absolutely. Another one of those edge guys that Georgia's in on. He's very high on Georgia too. He's taking an official visit to Athens, I think, right, Trent?
An official visit. You went Snoop Dogg on us right there. An official visit.
Yeah, he's taking an official visit. He doesn't have it planned yet. What he told us at the Under Armour camp, but he was looking towards a summer official visit, and he said June likely. And I mentioned the first week of June. And he said that's a possibility. So there's no concrete answer yet, but he does plan on taking an official to Georgia.
Okay. So I think everything. I mean, you look at what the secondary is between DeMello Jones, Ellis Robinson, Jalen Hayward, those kind of guys. Secondary is already pretty loaded. Christopher Jones is a guy that Georgia is.
Oh, yeah.
I think you look at inside linebacker between Christopher Jones. They just offered Chris Cole on a visit last week. And when he says, look, when I spoke with him, he said, Kirby Smart sees my ability as limitless. And that's a quote that catches your eye from a guy, obviously, Kirby Smart, who's been doing this for 20 years and knows what he's talking about. So I think those two, it's going to be interesting to see how inside linebacker shakes out. Obviously, there's Sammy Brown, who Georgia's kind of battling Clemson and some others with. So, as far as, I guess the tone of the question is kind of under the radar guys. I'd look at like Christopher Jones, Chris Cole, those kind of guys. I'm really interested to see how things shake out with him.
Yeah, I'm going to put this picture up. This is Edwin Spillman, a linebacker that was in town this weekend. You look anybody that is pictured beside that smiling mug there of Glenn Schumann. The other schools that are recruiting him have to start hearing Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins over there, because Schumann reels people in. That's just what he does. So I think that there's so many linebackers. He's out of the Nashville area, and we're going to be talking more to him about that visit here soon. But just all kinds of names. I think the defensive side of the ball is far less settled, except at defensive back, than on the offensive side. I think the offensive side, the targets are a little bit more clearly defined, Jed.
Yeah, because obviously we've got all these receivers. You got the kind of inner circle running back, Dylan Raiola, obviously. Tight end, there's a few names, whether it's Colton Heinrich, Amir Jackson, who's visiting this weekend, I should say. Offensive line is still a little murky, obviously, with Malachi Toliver on board now. But yeah, defensive side, there's still a lot of offers. You think of guys in last year.
They had Coy Beasley in from Cincinnati this weekend, who we haven't heard a ton of.
Mm-hmm. You think of guys in that last defensive class, whether it was, Jamal Jarrett kind of came on sort of late. Jordan Hall kind of came on sort of late. Daniel Harris was a guy that Georgia got in on. Kyron Jones was really late. So, And then obviously that happens on the offensive side of the ball too. But it'll be interesting to see, once we get into the summer and these camp offers start going out, how that board might change up a little bit.
Trent, it's not impossible that they get Colin Simmons back in town, and Colin Simmons may even take an official visit to Georgia. They're still in contact with him.
Yeah, and his first visit, or this past visit to Georgia, was an eye opener. He raved about that visit to Georgia, and if Georgia can continue to get him on campus, Georgia could definitely pull the upset on that one. So there's so many factors that go into this, and especially with out-of-state prospects, that you just have to continue to get them on campus. You have to continue to build those relationships. And, we'll see who Georgia gets on campus, that and during the June months and July months, and that'll be a big factor moving forward, who Georgia's able to land, because that'll be the guys that Georgia starts prioritizing in the fall.
No doubt. We got one more question, and then I want to throw a quote up from Nate Frazier that'll be coming out on a story tomorrow that I think everybody will like. But alumni, or UGA alum 95, I'm hearing some good things out of the Albany area about the possibility of UGA flipping Cameron Davis at running back. Thoughts on that? I mean, I just, it's hard. It's so hard to predict guys flipping away. I mean, like we say all the time, until they break away from the school they're currently committed to. I mean, you can't just, there's not a whole lot of speculation you can put into it. But Jed, I can't imagine that Georgia's start to the baseball season has helped them out any.
Not especially, no. But I mean, they're trying as hard as they can, man. You got Del McGee texting Davis every day. You got Kirby Smart texting his mom all the time and building that relationship. I mean, Georgia is pushing as hard for Cameron Davis as they probably are anybody else in this class right now. So, I mean, dude's been committed to Florida State for 2 years, and that was through some rough times down there in Tallahassee. So now that he sees the light at the end of the tunnel, and Florida State's kind of on an upward trajectory there in the ACC, it's hard to see him flipping away now. But Georgia's going to fight this thing all the way to the end, and you can't rule it out. Georgia, of course, would be happy to have him, whether he flips tomorrow or December 15th. But it's going to be hard to get him out of Tallahassee, I think.
Yeah, and to end up here, going to talk a little bit about another running back, Nate Frazier, that we mentioned earlier. Just got a offer from Georgia. He's looking to get out for a visit, an unofficial visit. Then he's going to decide where his officials are. He's getting interest from Alabama, Tennessee. All schools all across the country are coming after him now. And I was talking to him about, being from California and Peyton Woodyard, things like that. And he gave me this quote right here when he was talking about Peyton Woodyard. He was mentioning, Georgia being DBU, but he said this. He said, Georgia is the DBU school, RBU school. Georgia is a place where, every position on the field is going to be a good player. So they're literally the University of football, I would say. That is a strong quote that I have not heard. He called Georgia the University of football. So instead of going DBU, RBU, he just said U of F, meaning University of football for the University of Georgia. And I guess, listen, when you've state claim to back-to-back national championships and you've got 8 returning starters on defense and a ton on offense, you can, that kind of puts you in that air there, Jed.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with them. I mean, Georgia's putting guys in the NFL at every position. They, like you said, they won 2 national titles. They're 30-1 or 29-1, whatever, over the past 2 years. It's hard to argue with Georgia as the preeminent program in college football right now, and that goes from on field, off field. Someone posted on the Vault today. There was that recruits say Georgia's got the best facilities. I mean, it's rolling right now. So University of football, I think, is a pretty apt description, I would say.
Absolutely. Well, guys, stuff coming up on the site. If you didn't check it out, Jed put out a great piece on Carson Beck, a really in-depth piece on kind of what he's been through so far. So that you need to make sure you take time to read that. Brent Rollins put out a great piece on Cedric Von Prawn. We've got Coach Donnan's show tomorrow. We'll have my show with TK and Noshawn on Wednesday night. And I'll go ahead and announce right here, Wednesday night, we're going to have a special guest. David Pollock's going to join us live on Wednesday night. So that'll be fun. Talking a little bit of Georgia football and SEC football with Tavares, Noshawn, and Pollock on there. 3 Georgia legends be on there with us. So as always, guys, hit that like button right now. There's hundreds of you in here. Go ahead and hit the like button right now. That helps us out a lot. Subscribe if you hadn't already. We're almost to that 36,000 subscriber mark. We're trying to get up to. I mean, by the time football season's over with, we want to get to 50,000. We want to have a lot of people going on here. And the more people that like, the more that algorithm goes. So just really be doing that for us, and we appreciate it. Andy Stowe pointed out that Jed's article was great. Yeah, really good stuff. So, as always, we'll be here live next Monday night. I got to go catch up on Monday Night Raw. I mean, I'm missing it over here, but I've been trying to, catch glimpses of it while the show's going on. I got a nice tag team match going on. Guys, you going to watch WrestleMania? At least tell me you're going to tune in to watch WrestleMania. If you don't watch any, you can put down MLB The Show for just a little bit and watch some WrestleMania, okay?
No, man, I'm going to be grinding through AAA with the career mode. I'm not going to have time for WrestleMania by Sunday. We're going to be trying to get to the show, brother. We can't be wasting time on Sunday for that.
Oh goodness. There's no hope for him, Andy. I've tried to put him on here. But for Trent Smallwood and Jed May, I am Blayne Gilmer. We'll catch you guys on next Monday night to talk more Georgia football recruiting here on UGA Sports, Rumors versus Facts.